Welcome to another special edition of Living Life in Love, Brother to Brother, featuring James, Darius, Clarence, and myself, your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Tune in to hear us share our thoughts and opinions about being black men in America, facing our fears, recognizing our strengths and our vulnerabilities. The importance of leadership and mentoring our youth. We also discuss the challenges that they face in the educational system. This is part one of a two-part discussion. You're listening to Living Life and Love's Brother to Brother. Welcome to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. This is another episode of Brother to Brother. And on my show today, I have James Smith, who was just here not too long ago. I have Darius, and I have Clarence. If I didn't say your last name, I do apologize, but I don't know why. When I say James Smith, I got to say his full name. It's always been like that. So welcome, fellas.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it, brother.
All right. Thanks for the invite, bro.
You're welcome. Before we get started, I'm going to give everybody a chance just to officially do your own greetings. We'll keep it brief, and then we'll jump into our conversation. Let's start with Clarence.
Hey, how's everybody doing? My name is Clarence Alexander. I am from Indiana. Good to be on the show today.
Absolutely. Welcome, Clarence. Then I'm going to throw it over to Darius.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Darius Dempsey. I am originally from Boston, Mass., residing now in San Antonio.
Absolutely. And Darius is a reoccurring member of my relationship podcast. So he's been here before. You've seen him, you've heard him. And then last person is James Smith. James, I'm just going to call you James, man.
Hey, how's it going? Like I said, my name is James Smith. I'm a native of the great city of New Bern, North Carolina. Currently residing in the metropolis of Beulaville, North Carolina right now.
Oh boy. Okay. I like that metropolis because that's a great lead into our discussion. So we're going to talk about some man stuff. And here's my thing. You know, we're going to always keep it positive. I know we can always go down the rabbit hole and start, really, attacking individuals and the other gender and all that. I don't want to do all that stuff, but we're going to talk about some things. And Jane said metropolis. And that one hero that we know of lives in metropolis now is Superman. And I want to unpack that because I feel like as men, in particular black men, there's a Superman syndrome that's attached to us. If we think about Superman, he's supposed to be tough. Superman really doesn't show emotions, but when he does, he get that little rage in him. We're not supposed to ever get tired as men, never get sick, never need help, never need time to heal, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like we're just supposed to be able to keep going and going and going. But as we know with Superman, there's also that kryptonite. So I just want to talk a little bit about that and unpack that. Why do we feel like the world sees us as this invulnerable machine? And I'm gonna say machine that never stops. I see your mouth moving, James.
Well, I mean, I guess it's how we've been socialized, right? I think this guy is saying being taught right by the wrong people, right? I'll be taught wrong by the right people, excuse me. It's like the growing up, I was raised by a baby boomer, early on. And it's like, you don't show emotion, tough it up, or don't play with them doll babies. You play sports, you don't say I love you, right. It's like it's about mechanical things, being a provider, making sure the house is safe, being the last one to go to bed, walk on the side of the street where the car is closest, and those type of things. And as I've gotten older, not older, actually, older, and I talk to my daughters and even my son, they tell me, Dad, you were a great provider, you were a great protector, but we missed that part where you say I love you, or that part where I hug you and everything. And I'm thinking that, okay, if I'm making sure you're ready to get off into the world, I think I've done my job. But that's the other part that we haven't been taught. And now that I'm older and reflect back, I see where that now could have been an issue. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Darius, were you going to say something?
Well, no, I mean, I was just simply going to say, obviously, historically, there was a reason for us
Yeah.
kind of acting like Superman. And, so we had a lot of pressure, from outside of the household, just being Black men. We know what it was like in America at that time, and not that there isn't some resemblance of that now, but we couldn't afford to let our emotions take over us, because we had to get the bread. We had to get the bread.
Right.
So we just couldn't dive into our emotions that way, because we had kids at home that needed to be taken care of. And so if we let those outside pressures and the things that we were going through as men in those times get to us, then we wouldn't be able to take care of our kids, and our family. So at that time, there was a reason for it. This is 2024. It's a little bit different now. But in those times, there was a reason for that stoic expectation of men, of Black men.
Right.
Excellent point.
Absolutely. Clarence, you want to add something?
I mean, I had to agree with both of them brothers, and I think it even goes further back. If we really look at how the African American man was treated so long ago, first you're going all the way back to slavery, and then when it was over with, how they had to be the strong person to protect the family. I think that's really, if we look at where it stems from, and then just growing up, like Brother James said, taught by the right people, taught the wrong thing. We've been told so much, you have to be strong. You have to, even when you're weak, you still got to put the perception on that you're strong.
Right.
And we don't show your emotions. Boys ain't supposed to cry. Boys don't have feelings and all that. So we got, but that's where, if we look at where it came from, and it's just, it's just inbred into us, but it goes back to, where do we stop the cycle?
Right. And, you say that, I even see it in school. Like, being one of the few Black male teachers in my school, I'm the only one in the classroom. Like, we have an assistant, we have our PE teacher, and yes, he's in his class, but it's a little different. I'm teaching the curriculum, the core, but I'm not supposed to get tired. I'm not supposed to get sick ever. I'm not supposed to, get frustrated. I'm not supposed to anything, even down to, dealing with family situations. After 2 weeks was kind of like, oh, get over it. Yeah, your dad passed. I know, get over it, move on. What you gonna do now? You got kids to teach. Whereas I look at everybody else, when they're sick, when they are going through stuff, they come to the rescue. For me, it's just kind of like, keep pushing. And as a man, yeah, I'm gonna keep pushing, but there are times when I don't feel like pushing. Because if I'm pushing and I get to that boiling point, the way I push back is gonna be different. I'm gonna be snappy. I'm gonna be, in a bad mood. I don't feel like talking. I don't want to be bothered. Leave me alone. Mr. Braxton, can you do? No, I can't. I'm not even gonna give you a chance to get it out. And it comes off then as, oh, he got an attitude. What's wrong with him? Well, take some time out to talk to us to find out what's wrong, and allow us that opportunity to say what's wrong, historically, you guys on point, we can go back in history, and history in the sense repeats itself, every decade, every cycle. It doesn't stop. It comes back in a different form. And we're seeing it now,
Well, I've read some material that said that this current, I don't know if we're in the millennial, I don't know what generation we're at now. I can't keep up with it. Whatever is the current generation, that they embrace the idea of therapy and getting personal therapy. So we're kind of headed in the right direction. I feel like we kind of turned the corner. I think that the problem that we deal with is we got to get past social media as being our voice. Reason, like, so many people will look at what's happening in social media and take that as the rule of thumb. Like, yeah, that's, if I see a meme pop up that says this, then that's what it is. And it's like, we got to get past that. So it's looking up, but we definitely have some challenges we got to deal with.
Right. And go ahead, James.
No, you made an excellent point, man, about the social media, right? Because it used to be, we used to get together and have discussions and
Right.
conversations, right? You get a couple of personalities who are good with a couple of sound bites, and this person speaks for the entire group of us,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And that can be sometimes that can be manipulated into others to cause divisions within our community.
Exactly.
Which is this what happened, I think happened before, where you have a couple of voices. Oh, this speaks for this group, this speaks for this group, and it causes divisions. But like you said before, perfect that social media piece. Instead of having intellectual, heartfelt conversations between brothers,
Right.
is being co-opted by social media and sound bites.
Exactly.
And sadly, those voices out there are loud. They're
Loud.
loud, they're boisterous rather.
Mhm.
They are very, no, this is how you go do, and not to take away from anybody's platform or anything, but that's how they present it. And it sets an example for our youth to come up to think, I have to be the same way.
Mhm.
And that's not necessarily true. Like, you can go through life, have a voice, and I'm gonna touch on something in a minute. Have a voice, but you don't have to be boisterous. You don't have to browbeat. You don't have to be loud to get your point across. It's the message behind your voice.
Yeah.
Clarence, I see your brain thinking, man. I can see it from here. Clarence is in deep thought.
No, I was thinking about what Brother Darius was talking about as far as the generation looking at therapy. And I think that the only thing about it, though, most of these kids, if you talk to them, they want to go talk to somebody who's going to pacify them or baby them.
Mhm.
And, wanting to do therapy is good if you want to do it for the right reason.
Right.
So that's what probably I have. I deal with, middle-aged kids, middle school kids. Every day they tell me, I need to go talk to a counselor. For what?
Yeah.
Simple. Just because you want somebody to tell you, oh, okay, baby, you go, no, you need to stay up class and deal with what you got to deal with, because these problems you have, and most of the time, you've caused some of them.
Right.
And brother, look, I deal with high school kids, and I get the same thing.
Oh my
I need to go talk to the guidance counselor. It always happens when it's time for you to do some work, man.
How to do work. Absolutely.
I said, no. How about no? You do the work, and then I'll let you go during your lunch period. How about that?
Look, we got three.
I get it though.
Right. We got three levels of educators here.
Yeah. But then we have to discern when sometimes it's a real issue.
Right.
But one thing, I think the brother made a point talking about how to approach kids. Like, I remember me approaching and correcting kids. See, I remember growing up, the brother could come and correct you in the street.
Right.
And you say, yes, sir, and keep it moving. You try to correct some of these young kids today,
They'll fight you. Yeah.
No,
it's a different generation. Yeah.
That's the disheartening part.
Yeah.
The disheartening part.
Now I'm sorry. Go ahead, Clarence.
I was talking to some of my kids about that the other day, and they was talking about how stuff goes. I said, there's a difference. I said, in my generation, I said, we have respect for our elders and our teachers and our parents. I said, this day now, y'all don't have no respect for your parents, yourself, or nobody else.
Right.
I said, back in my day, we got our tails whooped if we was disrespectful. Y'all run y'all house. I said, see, that's the difference. Right. But y'all understand, how you run your house, you don't run my classroom.
Absolutely. And when we got our tails whooped, we got whooped by moms, we got whooped by pops, then grandma and grandpa would come and whoop you, the neighbor might whoop you, the cousin down the street, and your brother and sister might beat you up too. I mean, we got it from everybody. But it's the real thing with these kids, show no fear. But that goes back to the importance of it, and we're going in different directions, but we're right on target. Elementary school kids do the same thing as the middle and high school kids. I'm having high anxiety. I need to go speak to the counselor. Anxiety. Why? Because you got to write? Because you have to read? Like, you stressed out because you got to read? No, you really got to learn. And then they'll come back with, maybe some gummy bears, something, I mean, they know how to use the system these kids know how to use the system to get what they want, and they use, like you said, they use therapy as a way to get out of tackling hard problems. Yeah, problem solve. That's what we're doing in life. You got to problem solve. Yes, therapy is good when you truly need it, but if you use it to abuse the system, it's not going to help you.
Yeah, therapy is not there just because you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Something is challenging you, and that's what it seems like these kids are thinking, that anything that makes them uncomfortable or offended, they need to go get therapy or something. It's like, no, that's not what it is. But
and thank you for sharing that. But even with men seeking therapy, because I remember going to a program that was, going through divorce, and it was basically therapy, but it was based through the church and everything. And the response that I got was, well, you needed it. Yeah, that's where I'm going. I mean, there's no other reason, but it was almost like an attack on me for going to get help when I saw that I needed help. And I think sometimes for us as Black men, we're fearful to do certain things because we know that if you don't have a safe space in the other person, they're going to use it against you. Oh, you're going to therapy because you're crazy. No, I'm going to therapy because I need some solutions or some help to handle some of these situations, which could be the other person,
Yeah, and that, I guess, as men, that's the tough thing about therapy, because if you've been going your entire life by a code of don't sharing, don't open up, whatever, now all of a sudden, first of all, you have to get to the space where you actually accept to go to therapy.
Yeah.
Then you have to sit there and actually start unlayering parts of your life that you probably never had done before to a total stranger. So that definitely, I know there's a stigma with therapy, and I know it's needed, but we gotta understand, we don't get to those places automatically. It takes a while to get there, and then to get comfortable enough to actually share, right? Because we've been taught, don't tell your business because we're all in the street, right? We don't understand that, they bound by HIPAA, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's all type of things that probably go through your head as you're trying to take that step.
Since we're talking about therapy, how do we become vulnerable to take that step? Because I feel like that's the side of you have to open to go say, you know what, I need this, I'm ready for this. Because I'm admit it is hard. It's not that easy. Although some people feel like, oh, all you got to do is just go talk. All you have to do is, that's for you. But for me, it's not the easy for me to go say, hey, let me tell you about my problems. Let me tell you everything that's going on with me, and unpacking that and being truthful about it.
So I want to respond to that. So our organization I'm Man Cave, let's say, we are doing a Black men's mental health for Dream Week in January. And the focus is about how Black men's mental health impacts the community, or how the community impacts Black men's mental health, right? And so to me, the answer to that question isn't really how do we as an individual, like as an individual Black man, open up and become vulnerable. Because what causes any person to not want to be vulnerable is because when they did try to be vulnerable, the reaction from the outside not accepted. So in order for Black men to become more vulnerable, we need our community, we need our women and our families to allow us to be vulnerable. Unfortunately, what a lot of men experience is, we all know, you as a kid, as a boy, as a young man, you're constantly told, don't express yourself, suck it up. I already said that on the show. So then we get into a relationship, we're like late 20s, 30 years old, and we got this woman saying, hey, share, open up. And then we're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try. And you start trying, and because you don't have the practice and the experience tagging words to your emotions, it takes you a while to express them. But women are on the opposite side of that spectrum because they've been raised since they were a child to express themselves. So when they sit with a man and the man's taking a long time to express themselves, they tend not to have the patience, because they're like, what's taking you so long? And so then they think they're being helpful by injecting or interjecting words for you, but it's only frustrating the man because it's really not what he's trying to say, right?
Yeah.
But she'll say something, it's like, and then after a while, the man just says, yeah, that's it, forget. When it really wasn't the problem. Or the worst case scenario is the woman will not accept his vulnerability and will emasculate him for trying to be vulnerable. And the minute that happens, that brother is never going to be vulnerable again. So to me, the answer to that question is, it takes the community in order for men to open up and be vulnerable. Because who we're being vulnerable to? Other people, not to ourselves, to other people. So we need other people to be willing to accept Black men being vulnerable.
And it is a fine line that we walk where, you know, if I open to you, I'm hoping that you're going to treat what I share with care. You know, I want you to take care of it. I want you to nurture it. But as soon as you break that trust, I'm going back in my shell because I can't share anything else with you. I've been there out and I'm like that. And don't put words in my mouth. You know, if I'm processing what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, give me time to process. But as soon as you put words in my mouth, guess what? It's not me. That's you. That's what you say. And then it makes me not want to share. It makes me not want to trust you. Because then, you know, I'm going to go in that shell and I can't come out unless I want to. And you can't get me out of it, you know?
Yeah, if I may piggyback, exactly. I think this is and I'm 52, and I think we've all had this. I don't know what you said, Brother Dempsey, is that once you open up to your significant other, your spouse, girlfriend, what have you, of a vulnerability, I think the worst thing that can happen is for that vulnerability to be weaponized. And I think and once it's weaponized, once you open up a soft part of yourself, sharing to bond with someone, and in the heat of battle that is thrown up, I think this may be an education piece for the sisters on the other side, that brother's never going to be the same again.
Right.
Now, he may operate with normalcy, right? But that side of him is not going to open up again.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mr. Clarence, you want to add something in or?
I agree with both of them brothers, but we also have to understand, in order for us to be able to go to therapy, we have to first admit that we have an issue.
Right.
That too, yes.
Too often, Black men, and it goes back to how we have been raised. You know what? I do have an issue with something. I do have something. You know what? Then comes the part about being vulnerable, but we have to first be able to look at ourselves. You know what? I need some help.
Yeah.
And if we able to admit with ourselves that we need some help, then we can go to the next part. But I think too often, because it's normal to us, we look at I'm good.
Right.
Oh, you know, what you mean? I'm good. There's no problem with me. You actually, until it smacks in your face, you realize, oh, I do need some help. I do have some issues that I have not dealt with. I do have this stuff that's been bottled up for so long that I didn't realize. So we have to be able to come to the point where, you know what, it goes back to we're not Superman.
Right.
I need somebody to help me muddle through all this stuff that I'm dealing with because I have not dealt with it.
And right there's our kryptonite. When we don't deal with stuff, it eats us up from the inside, and then it comes out on the outside. That's why we, you know, not say we, meaning some of the brothers out here, go to alcohol and drugs and sexual situations, or they're just angry or very unstable in situations, you know. But I think though, what a lot of us need, some of us have, but a lot of us need is, I'm gonna go back to the Superman analogy, the fortress of solitude, that place of peace where you can go sometimes and escape. We often don't have that. We don't have that escape because wherever we go, there's that pressure here. I go in this part of the house, there's a pressure there. I go to work, pressure here. So we got to figure out where's that fortress of solitude. You know, is it in a small group where we can sit back and talk and know no matter what we talk about, it's safe? You know, is it in an organization that I can trust, or is it this person over here that I can talk to and trust? We got to figure out what is it, or who is going to allow us to have that peace, that tranquility, that place that we can just chill, and or that person who's going to listen. Because I think that's a hard part for some of us. We don't have somebody who's going to listen to us. We have people that want to solve our problems. Sometimes I don't need you to solve it. I just need you to hear me out.
Right.
Exactly.
So that is so interesting that both of you have brought that up about having someone or a way for men to be able to express themselves. Because again, you bring it up in my group, but Man Cave, we have one of the things that we do is called Man Cave Huddle. And the purpose of Man Cave Huddle is exactly for what we're talking about here. It's a safe space for men to be able to express themselves to one another. Say it how you want to, say it with your chest. You're not going to be judged because it's only men. No women are allowed in this, only men. We can talk about all subjects. Now, I also know of a friend that, the friend of Mark and James, Stephanie Ingram.
Yes.
My friend Stephanie, she does a similar thing out in Austin.
Yep.
Austin, Texas. Every month, they group of men to get together in privacy, and then they just talk, and they're doing really, really well. Out there. So if there's any men out there in Austin, you're listening, you know, hit Mark up to get information and get linked.
There's a space for you. Yes.
Yes.
And that's important to have that space. I even think about like going to like the vitiligo conference in Indiana. You know, it's good to be around your people, but there are times where you just need that space, you know, or to kind of get away from things, to escape. And it's interesting because I didn't know Clarence was going to be there. And I was like, man, we'll be here. And man, I'm just going to stand over here in the corner. And I saw Clarence. It's kind of like, hey, you know, now I know there's somebody I can talk to that's outside of, you know, my skin, you know. And I think we need that because we have all these different things we deal with, whether it's education, whether it's whatever at home or whatever type of jobs we're doing. We need an outlet where we can talk about something different. I don't know. We can talk about the sports. Yeah, my team lost today, but who cares? They played a good game, you know. Like whatever we need to talk about, because sometimes we have those pressures of work. I don't want to talk about work, you know. I don't want to always talk about having vitiligo. I know what I have, you know. I know what I'm living with, but I want to talk about something else, you know. I don't always want to talk about, you know, what's going to go on in the world, because we know the world is crazy. We know 2025 is already crazy. It's not even here yet. We already know. But sometimes we need something to help us manage, I guess, the craziness of life.
Right.
Yeah, I think Brother Clarence said when he said that we are not Superman.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this is that sometimes we have looked at manhood through Eurocentric lenses.
Yep.
What definition of manhood is. And if I may step back a little bit in history, you know, men, we were the gatekeepers, right? In the community, you know, we were the ones who set the standard where the village concept, that's what we brought over here with us, right? And I think sometimes when you morph into that individualistic type of bravado, those type of things, I think that's just sometimes where we kind of miss the mark a little bit. A little bit.
Just a little bit. Oh, but too, you think about growing up in our neighborhoods as kids out playing. If it was wintertime, well, I grew up in the country. The men were out chopping wood. The little boys out there getting wood with them. We went to the playground and played, but we knew the men would come down. Y'all need to go home. It's getting dark. You know, we knew there was somebody there to hold us accountable. Or if we were out playing basketball, the men were playing with us, make sure everything was at peace. Or, you know, like I think about growing up, there was always the father figures there. whether they were in divorce situations or not, that didn't matter. There was always a group of men that was there to guide us, you know, guide us in the neighborhoods, guide us in the church. And even now, like when I go to my church, my church has a church full of men, but we don't have many kids. Like, where are the kids? You know, like we supposed to be guiding our youth and teaching our youth, but there's no youth to teach. How are we teaching them? Where are the kids? Are they sitting at home? Why didn't I come to church to get some guidance, to play video games and things? And I know some people are going to feel, well, it shouldn't be the church's responsibility. But guess what? That was a blueprint.
It's got a blueprint.
Right.
Yeah. Because it used to be like when I grew up, I stayed across the right beside us was my grandmother. Behind me was my great aunt and great uncle. Hustling up us up and down the street. Across the street was a holiness church. We weren't asked, did you want to go to church? Or are you going to church this morning? Right? No, grandma knocked on that door and us four holding hands, walking across the street, listen to Bishop Flowers, probably get up about 3-4 o'clock, right? But like I said, it was not a discussion. Right. When it was summer time to go work at Uncle Farrah's tobacco field, Dad didn't say, hey, Junior Aunt, do y'all want to go work at tobacco field? No, y'all get up and don't my make one drivers. Y'all walk to Uncle Farrah's and work all day in tobacco field. Then come back and do your chores, right? So we weren't asked a lot. I think this generation here, I think a lot of parents sometimes they give too much deference to the children as asking, do you want
kids
this?
Have control.
Please. Exactly. Instead of giving directives, we're leaving wiggle room to get out of the directive.
Clarence, can you add, I'm gonna ask Clarence real quick, because Clarence, y'all may not know his background, but Clarence, can you share a little bit more about the aspect of the church and the role that your church should play in terms of guiding our youth?
Well, I was gonna say something because you made a statement about you have a lot of men in your church, and that right there is a blessing, because if you will look at most of the churches now,
that's exactly what I was thinking too.
It's mostly women to every. You may have 4 or 5 women to every man that's in the church, because now times 10 you don't have the men in the church, and that's part of our problem now. And because we don't have that man figure, and most of the women are the ones that's really having to take over. Now, I believe that the church still needs to be in the forefront.
Right.
You know, I believe that because like I grew up, you know, my stepdad was around, but we had a bunch of men in the church, you know, who can help you out if you had if there was a single mother. You had the men in the church who would come get those kids, especially got a young boy, and teach them how to do this and teach them how to do that. And I think part of the problem with our society now is that the church has gotten slack on their responsibility.
So,
I like that.
Here's something I'd like us to think about and consider, and you kind of hit on it already, but I think part of the problem with the challenge with us having men being available to be the gatekeepers and the standard bearers for the community is that, unfortunately, there isn't the same number of men available. And part of that is obviously because of the whole prison system, you know, the K to prison thing that a lot of Black men have to deal with, right? So we know that a portion of our population is not available to us the way it was, let's say, over 40, 50 years ago. So that's one thing. The other thing is just in terms of, and we've kind of hit upon it already, is how culture has changed and the idea of like safety. You rarely see kids outside playing now, period, right? Because everybody,
that's true.
Ooh, I can't trust the community, right? Like, oh, I gotta take my kid. When I was in first grade, I used to walk to school. I lived in a city, Boston, walk to school and walk back. My mother never fretted for anything, right? Now, how many parents are letting their kids walk? So, but my point is that as men, I used to coach youth football. I stopped coaching because of the crazy stuff that I seen from parents the way they will react or act or whatever based on someone dealing with their child. And for me, I was like, okay, that's it. Because the way this culture is, it's like, you know, you touch the kid the wrong way. Yeah, think about coaching kids in football, right? Young kids, you got to be hands-on with them.
That's true.
Right? You kind of got to be hands-on. Well, they're moving around, they're jumping, you don't think it's football. Your hands could end up, but you don't mean to grab up. Didn't mean to put your hand there, but you just reaching for the kid and he moved, right? Kid goes home, parents says, so how was your day? Well, coach, and then he did what? And now you're in trouble.
They're ready to fight.
Right.
So a lot of times, and this is across the board, whether you're male or female, like a lot of people, we do not feel safe with being able to interact with somebody else's kid, like a stranger's kid, you know, because of the way, you know, because of what could possibly happen to us if someone misconstrues our actions. So those are probably, to me, like a couple of things that impact why you're not seeing as many men involved in mentoring and being there for the kids.
You know, and this is go ahead, James, and I'm gonna jump in after that.
No, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, and one thing exactly about the men, what he was saying is that I'm the president of the Duplin County NAACP chapter. My executive board, vice president, first vice president, secretary, assistant secretary, treasurer, assistant treasurer, my whole entire executive board, female.
Women, yep.
I have my branch meeting, right? I'm sitting there in the branch meeting. We have about maybe 15 to 20 that come faithfully, right? One male, right? So the question is, yes, where are the brothers, right?
Yeah.
Where are the brothers? Yes, sir.
And you know, and that's true. That's true. You know, I think about even with our vitiligo meetings we have, and this is our global vitiligo foundation meetings. Sometimes with our local meetings, it's just me. And I'm looking like, where the rest of the brothers? You know, ain't nobody else gonna show up, but you know they're there because I see you online. I see you on social media. But there's something happening where the shift says, I don't want to be in that space. I don't need to go over there. But we'll go watch a game. You know, we'll do what's fun to us. And I think part of it goes back to being told we don't need you. You know, how many times can you hear that before you start thinking, well, they don't need me, well, I'm not gonna be there, you know. But we are needed. And I'm gonna say that to any men out there, you are needed. We need you for leadership, we need you for mentorships. We need those coaches, we need those teachers, the preachers, all the leadership that we have there. Are we saying we're gonna be perfect? No, because sometimes I think we're looking for quote unquote perfect people. No, we come with some real life stories. You know, not everybody's perfect. Not everybody has a squeaky clean background. Some people have done stuff when they were young, but I'd rather somebody that, how can I put this? If somebody was in a gang, put it that way, and they got out and they want to mentor youth, I can't tell them anything about what gang life looks like because I've never been in one. That person can, you know, or somebody that was on drugs or alcohol. And I know we got to do everything within, you know, respect of the community and be careful and mindful what they're going to say and do. But there's certain things I can't tell a child about because I've never experienced it. You know, I can't tell anybody about going to war because I've never been to war. I've seen it on TV, but what can I say about it? I'm not, you know, it's not my experience. But we do need leaders in our community that can share maybe not all the details of your experiences, but your experiences are important to help guide our youth so they know, hey, you don't read, you don't want to write, you don't want to do your math, you don't want to do any of your work in school. This could be a possibility, but we don't want you to go here. You know?
Right.
Yeah. And I teach, you know, I teach at an alternative school, and you know, the kids is any area, the alternative school, you get the quote unquote roughest of the rough, right? And I've sat in front of classes and had students in rival gangs in the same classroom.
Yeah.
And one thing I notice about the boys, right? In a low key way, they want that discipline.
Yeah.
They loving discipline. Because the thing is, you kind of meet them where they are, not where you think they should be, because kids know when they're being judged and looked down upon,
Right.
right? So I guess the key thing is, I guess, is when we're out trying to engage and try to bring these brothers in, don't look at them through our lenses of we've gone to school, we've done this, we've done that, we've done that. Look at them through a lens of love and concern, and see if you can make those meaningful steps to try to get them on the right path. But you got to meet them where they are. You can't come at them judging them. They can see that a mile away.
One of the things you mentioned was the number of men that are not present. But I think what we got to look at, that is important. There are a number of men that are not present, but we got to also look at the quality of the men. I think that's where we're falling short, is the quality of particular Black men in the community. And then we got to figure out, how do you gauge that quality? Because what's quality on the left is something different on the right, and it's something different in the middle and the back. So, because I think about leaders growing up, the people we had, leading our communities, they were all so different. And, unfortunately, we know how things ended, being a leader in the community, but I also feel like, to a certain extent, we still have that fear of, how much do I say? How much do I do? And James and you and I kind of talked about that.
Yeah. I think the fact, I guess where the history part, I think Brother Clarence brought up a little bit the history part. It was government policy to neutralize strong Black men that can unite the community. Right. So that was COINTELPRO. So that was government policy, right? It was policy to find the strongest Black male in the on the plantation, to dehumanize them as an example. Look, who's the brother, the basketball player, Irving, right? Who took a stance, whether we agree with it or not. But they made him an example to literally overkill with his response, right? So as brothers in community, as I deal with in Duplin County, if you're going to be that person to speak up, there are going to be forces to say, oh, we got to put that in its place.
Right.
And so what people see, and our young boys see coming through the school system, they see the consequences, is almost ingrained early, of taking a stance or speaking up. So they get that thing, I'm going to just keep my head to the gravel and just do what I got to do to take care of me.
Yeah. There was a situation in my school, this is many years ago, where we were talking about the dynamics of our students versus the dynamics of our teachers, and how they were not matching. I teach at a predominantly Black Latino school, but you look at the people who were serving our students, or working with our students and teaching our students, didn't have the same shared experiences. Not to say I want everybody to be the same, but we wanted more diversity. And I spoke up and I said, it'd be nice to actually have more men in the school. I said, because I'm the only Black male. I'm light. Some of our Latino students think I'm Latino. Our Black students, they want me to be Black. The hood students want me to be hood. And those who are not hood want me to be, the nerdy student. They want me to be whatever they see me, how to fit in that category. And I said, and it's hard because I can't be everything for every student. I'm trying my best. I speak to everybody. I said, but now I'm drained because they're pulling me, Mr. B, can't Mr. B. And I'm like, can we get some help? But hold on real quick. But what I said to the administration, I said, I can't change that, but you can. I said, you know what the hiring process is looking like. You see the candidates, we don't. I said, if you want to change the dynamics of our school to match who we're serving, then you have that power. We don't. I said, so that's on you. Now I had a coworker tell me, she said, you shouldn't have said anything because you might get fired. Okay. If I'm gonna get fired for speaking the truth, then I'll take that. I'm like, seriously? Like, that's going back to what Clarence said. We've been ingrained with this mentality for so many years that don't say anything. Don't you say a word, because you might get fired, you might lose your job, or they're gonna. Yeah, but you know what? Somebody's got to speak. Somebody's gonna have a voice. You know, we can't just sit and be quiet all the time. One of the things I said on Facebook, you can't just pray all the time. You got to pray and do some action behind it. You got to do some work. You know, praying and praying and praying. Now I understand you pray, you sit still and wait for guidance, but just can't just pray and sit there and go, well, things gonna be better now, right? No, you got to do some work. You can't just sit there. No, you got to get up, put some action. And work is not always physical. Sometimes it's using your voice to help people understand or to enlighten each other, you know. But go ahead, Darius.
No, so man, you all said so many different things I want to respond to.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm gonna respond to the last. So you were talking about, you know, obviously there's a shortage of African American males in our school systems. And I wonder if a lot of that is because, as we know, teachers, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but that career is always looked at as a career that doesn't pay well, right?
Oh yeah, they'll pay well.
And so when you look at the pressures, like so one of the things that we're going to talk about at the mental health forum we're doing next year is this idea that is constantly perpetuated that men's purpose, and it seems like the only value that they say men bring to the table, period, is to be able to provide and protect. So every boy, young man, everybody grows up thinking they gotta get the bread.
You gotta get
It's
the
gotta
bag.
be about them. I gotta make big, I gotta make bags. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta have a stack. It can't be average. I gotta, in order to get me a woman. So how much of that do you think impacts the idea of Black students going into colleges and wanting to become Black male students going into college and wanting to become teachers?
Yeah, that easy money on the street is a lot more entertaining than what we doing in the classroom. They looking at us like y'all broke.
You're right. You're right. Why? That's a good point. It's like, why would somebody want to go through 4 years of college just to get a job? You need a part-time job to subsidize, right? So that, but that being said, you're right, Mark. Being in these classroom environments as a Black male, we're an anomaly at the Trinity School. We have like 5 Black males out there, which is more than any other school in the district, right? Wow. But I will tell you, sometimes we are the only advocate those kids have.
Yeah.
We all know disparate treatment, things of that nature. I mean, I can't get too much in, but I remember just sitting in, if you ever sat in an IEP meeting, right? And or a manifestation, right? And you're sitting there and you're listening to these people talk. It's like, it's almost like you're trying to criminalize the kid, right? And I'm thinking to myself, how many times this going on when a kid doesn't have an advocate for them to say, hold up, push up, no, those type of things, right?
Right.
So yeah, so it goes without saying. Yes.
So may I add to this? So then my question becomes, why isn't our community, our NAACPs, our HBCUs, all of our organizations, our community organizations, why are they not pushing and promoting to Black young men to become teachers and providing scholarship funds and support to get young Black men to become teachers? Because we know how valuable that is to us in our future, right? As Black boys, they need mentors. They need to be able to see, and the young ladies need to see quality Black men that care. So they won't go for the, that dude on the street that's going to treat them bad because that's all they know, right? So why are our organizations not promoting that? Like, that's the part to me that boggles my mind.
Here's a
thought. How valuable it is, but I don't see us doing anything about it. I don't care about what the white people are trying to do to us.
Right.
Make us not do it. Here's the thing that always gets me about our argument about what the man is doing to us. Take a sports analogy. If I'm playing football, playing basketball, whatever, and I know the other team is trying to do a certain thing, do I sit there and go, well, they're going to throw a pass, but we're not going to get back and try to cover the pass? We're just going to sit there and like, or we're going to get back and try to cover the pass, right? You got to do something. So we can't just be complaining about what the man is doing and then we don't do nothing. So that's the thing that just,
But here's a thought that I'm going to go to Clarence, and then after that, we're going to start wrapping things up. Here's a thought. As you said that, it made me think, we have all these organizations, right? Like you say, NAACP and all these, this group here, and the group over there, and the scholarship here. Why can't we figure out how to work together to really create this global entity, or not global, but let's say our countrywide entity where we can support our youth that want to go into education, provide them with the tools that they need, because the universities are trying, but I don't feel like there's enough support from the community to say, we need you, brother. And in particular, we're talking about Black boys going into young Black men going into education.
I will say this, is that the community that we had no longer exists. When I say that, the village, right? So during the segregation, right, we were united, had the village concept out of necessity, not by choice, right? It was the conditions made it conducive where these organizations, when it was a church meeting, it was hundreds there. It was unity of purpose. I think as some of us have gotten upwardly more mobile and had a chance to move and do better things, now it's by choice. People are choosing not to be worried about the collective, they're worried about the individual. So now when you come in to the community and you say, well, look, I'm like, okay, all three of my kids went to college. I'm going to help someone else go to college, right? But 10 people down the street say, no, as long as my kids went to college, I'm fine. You on your own, right? So that the village concept that was pervasive at all levels about whether you were educated, uneducated, whatever, that's a hindrance to what we're trying to do with mentorship now, I think.
Yeah, so I'm going to make one statement. I'm going to throw it over to Clarence, and then we're going to start wrapping things up. This is a great discussion. We're probably going for another 30 minutes, but I'm going to honor everybody's time because I'm a little hungry too. But the village, hey, I'm just telling you like I see it. Hey, look, the village, think about it. The village concept was a village that was also attached to the church. That no longer exists. It's a villa now with the bodega. And those little skinny houses that are thrown up side by side. So what and it's all moved, and they have all moved into our neighborhoods. So our neighborhoods are divided. You know, right here in Raleigh, James, think about Chavis Heights. When we're in college, did you walk through Chavis Heights?
No, you didn't.
No, you did not. You didn't mess with Chavis Heights. Now I can park my car, get out of Chavis Heights, go get me a little dog, walking around the neighborhood, and not have a care in the world. That's because the village has changed. The village is not there anymore, but the villa is. There's little pockets of the village there, but they're not strong enough collectively to come together because they're not trying. That's all I see. Because when I ride through there, when I'm going home, same, doing the same thing, you know, like, but we have to figure out how to come together. Overall, we got to pull the pieces together from different places and say, you know what, we got to work. We got to work together. Stop trying to one up each other. My organization's better than yours, and we got this, and that's okay. I got this singer in mind, and we're gonna give away a $13 million scholarship. Oh yeah, we're gonna give away 128. You know, we do too much of that. It's too much of the competition, and we're defeating each other.
I think the challenge is that is not enough of the we mentality, too much of the I mentality. Yeah, and that's the hard thing to bridge there. Yeah.
It is. All right. Before we do that, I'm gonna go to Clarence. Any insight, anything you want to add, Clarence? And y'all know how I wrap things up, and we're gonna wrap things up. Yeah.
Man, there's so much stuff there. Like these other organizations don't really say too much about having Black teachers, and it's just me. I believe the reason why we don't see it is because it's not glamorous enough.
Yeah.
It's not going to get the newsworthiness as if I'm fighting for civil rights, or if I'm fighting for this and fighting for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that we have to stand up on our own. If we have men, I work at a school, it's an inner city school, mostly blacks. And out of 80-some teachers, we only got 4.
Mm-hmm.
We got 4 black teachers out of the whole building, and the majority of our students are black. And we got to look at it. And one thing we got to see is it's hard to get black men to show up for somebody else's kid when they don't show up for their own.
True.
And we gotta understand you gotta have those men who really have a passion for young people.
Right.
And respect those and protect them. Yeah, we can say that prison system, let's be honest. Most of our cats that they ain't at home with their kids, they either out there in the club, out on the street making money, because you can make it faster. I came from that lifestyle myself. I was I was a dealer, so I understand how that is. But you understand to where we gotta eventually want to stop the cycle.
Yeah.
And I want more of my kids than I did or I had. And so we got these young black kids who all they see is the rap game and all this. Easier. For one reason, it's easier because they feel like, well, if I go do this, I don't have to worry about this schoolwork, because I teach 6th grade, and I tell you now, most of my 6th grade probably read on the 2nd or 3rd grade level. So I need to go try to find some money where I don't have to do the education.
Right. Wow.
And so I have to understand, we have to let these young people see, look, it's not all about what you see on TV. It's not all about what you hear in the news. This is what your life can be. This is what your lifestyle is. That's why, I talk to young people all the time, because I was that guy.
Yeah.
I grew up in church, and my mama didn't know I was selling drugs. My mama didn't know I was in the gang. I went to church every Sunday, but I still had another part of my life.
Right.
And see, even now that I'm in church, I pastor, I teach in the middle school, but also coach. I coach people. I might be the only positive male figure that some of these kids see.
Right.
And so I literally had last year, matter of fact, in July, one of my former students emailed me on my birthday. We share the same birthday. And she literally said, thank you, because you was that father figure that I needed. She was a white girl.
Yeah.
And so we have to take the ones who are doing the work and show them, what, I appreciate you.
Yes.
The problem is once who are doing the work don't have the appreciation that they get.
I agree with you.
I work at a school now. My principal can't stand me. And I know he got me. I was standing. He'll walk right past me, not even speak.
Wow.
But you know what? I go to him and say, you know what? I want to shake the hand of a good man today, knowing he don't like me. So we have, for those guys who are doing the work, that are actually showing up, we have to, you know what, man, I appreciate you for doing the work. Because and that are doing the work don't hear enough of how much, they're meaningful, their job is meaningful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. That was powerful. That was powerful.
Yes.
Because that people don't understand. And I'm gonna wrap things up soon, but we got to go around and share some positive words of encouragement to people. But we don't hear that enough. That thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate you for what you're doing. Especially as educators, we don't hear that. We sometimes might hear the other stuff. You didn't do this on time. You didn't turn this on. You got this deadline to meet. But to hear you're doing a great job, that changes your whole outlook. That changes your whole day. And sometimes not even getting that from the adults, from the kids. When the kids say it, that makes you feel good, like I'm doing something. What I'm doing is working. No, that child may not read on grade level, but they still appreciate the work that I'm doing, and they acknowledge it and they see it. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Clarence. All right, so at this point, we're about to wrap up. So I'm just going to go around and let you guys share some words of encouragement to our listeners, and then I will close this out. So I'm going to start with James.
Oh, thanks, man. Look, I enjoyed the discussion, brothers. Anytime that brothers can sit together and exchange
Definitely.
ideas of positivity is always a good thing. And I guess, and I think the good key thing is that for me, I look to the ancestors for motivation, right?
Yes.
They gave us a blueprint, you know. Those brothers held their head down so we can walk straight and walk proud. So it's incumbent of us to kind of pull back into that energy and forge forward in bringing us brothers and everybody together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
And if you ever heard the phone ringing, that was Jesus calling. He was making sure we were okay. So, no, that was my other line. I was like, the phone had rang all day. I knew it was going to ring during the podcast, but no, it's all good. Thank you for sharing it, James. I appreciate that. Darius, I'm gonna let you go next.
Thank you. Yeah, so like Brother James said, this was a great time together, and listen to all the gentlemen on here express themselves and share wisdom and insight about our community and what's going on with us as African American men. I think we need to move from constantly talking about the problem, constantly pontificating about what the issues are,
Right.
and start moving to solutions. We need to start having a more of a solution mindset and just start working on solutions. And if something fails, okay, figure out why it failed and keep moving and keep moving and keep moving. As a Christian, I think that a lot of times, our culturally, we're just too selfish. We always think in the mindset of how can things benefit me as a person? But the word of God says that we are to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. So we need to be thinking about each other's more than we are constantly thinking about ourselves. So I think part of that solution is us to stop being selfish, and as men start working together, as the last part of the show had talked about, us as organizations, us as individuals, start working together and start honoring those who are putting in the work that don't have the big names.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. All right, Clarence, it's on you. Thank you for sharing that, Darius. Clarence, it's on you. Then I will share my last few words and wrap things up.
All right. Man, it's been an honor to share this platform with you guys. Brother Darius, I'm glad you said that one thing, because you said something about solution. I've always shared with people, I said, look, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And we have to understand that in order for us to make a difference, we have to show people, hey, I'm here for you. For those men who may be watching, hey, we appreciate y'all for the work that you do. Brother Mark, Brother James Smith, Brother Darius, I appreciate you guys for the work that you guys do in your various cities and stuff. I think we don't hear that enough as Black men. That, hey, I thank you for the jobs that you're doing. Mark, you're doing an awesome job with this podcast, man. Thank you.
Sure, yes, sir.
Awesome job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Life, but for to have young men, I think men need to see positive Black men who can actually come together and really just have a positive conversation. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for being here. And I appreciate the words of compliments and confidence, all that good stuff, because we don't often hear that enough. And really, I changed the format of this. It was Living Life in Love with Vitiligo. Went back to my original title, Living Life in Love, because we got to live our lives, and we're living our lives as a village. The village is still there, it's just scattered, and we got to figure out how we can bring that village together to help our youth, to help, and I say youth, that's our boys and girls, help our young folks, and help us, each other, because we have things that we're still dealing with, that we're struggling with, even in our 50s and even with our older adults. And sometimes we don't want to have the hard conversations, or we don't want to have a conversation at all. This was a great start to a conversation. And I like what Darius said, solutions. So the next time we come back, I'm going to throw out some bullet points, and we're going to talk about some solutions, things that we can do to help our communities, whether it's the community at large or right in our our cities, because James, you're out by the coast. I'm more near the capital city. Clarence, you said you're more near a bigger city, right?
Yeah, not too far from Indianapolis, about 40.
Okay. And same thing for you, Darius. So, we can do work in our cities. We can do
Yes.
work in our small communities. But it's going to take an effort from us to do it and to pull others with us. And like you said, I hope the men that are watching this, find something in there that motivates them to say, you know what, let's get together and you can start small. Start with a small conversation. Give you 2 or 3 and then keep building. And for the ladies out there, we're not leaving you out. We need your support also. We need your help also. It's good for us as men to come together to talk, but we also need the ladies' support. That's like what Stephanie's program is so powerful because, she's hosting it, but it's for the men. And she's just kind of the guiding point there, but she's not the forefront of the conversation. It's the men, and they have a safe space. And that's what we need as men, safe space, so we can really talk about what we need to do, the work we need to do, how we're going to get through these things, and sometimes unpack those things that we don't want to talk about, but I appreciate you guys coming on this podcast, sharing and being open to share. I know sometimes it can be hard to share our thoughts and feelings, and we're not going to please everybody, I'm not trying to please everybody, but I feel like the right people or the right person is going to hear this podcast and say, thank you, I needed that, and I take it too. I listen to what you guys saying. I'm like, okay, I can go into work tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, point at the kids, hey, high five, whatever I need. Because sometimes I'm deflated in my energy before I get to work.
Right.
So this conversation is what I needed also to get me prepared for tomorrow. And then Tuesday. And then after that, I'm off work. Going to enjoy my turkey time, And for you guys, enjoy your Thanksgiving. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. For my listeners, yes, I'm in a rocking chair. That's why I'm going back and forth. For my listeners, I always say, love is so important in this world. It's not just about loving yourself, but we'll get to that. But I want you to make sure you focus on loving other people. You have a spouse, love your spouse. You have a significant other, a new relationship, emerging relationships. Things are in development, whatever you call it, still love those people. Love your ex. I mean, from a distance, I get it, but still love that person because that person at some point was in your life, still show that person love, but I get it. Your kids definitely need love. Our young people need to know that they are loved because they are struggling with so many things that they don't even talk about. And help them with their work. Please help them read and write and do their math, please, y'all, because our kids are struggling. Make sure you love your coworkers, even those that give you a hard time. Maybe go give your coworker that don't like you, go shake hands, high five. Hey, how you doing today? Speak to that person. Maybe that'll change their heart. You never know. But most of all, before you can do any of that stuff, now I didn't talk about the stranger, but y'all know what I say about strangers. Give them love too. But look in that mirror and tell yourself, I love you, because we don't do enough of that. We're going to fix our hair, shave and all that stuff, but we don't say, I love you.
Clarence,
look in that mirror and do that. Okay, let me back up. If you have remnants of hair follicles that used to exist, you can still rub that. See, James, I see where you're going. You can still rub that or rub your beard or whatever you're going to do. But look in that mirror and tell yourself, I love you. And for you fellas, thank you for being on the show. And we will have a follow-up discussion in the new year. So y'all take care. You're welcome. Darius, thank you. Right. Clarence, thank you. James, thank you. And to the listeners, thank you. Y'all take care. Peace.